Happy morning, children. Last class we saw about various post fertilization changes taking place in the endosperm, growing embryo, and also saw certain features about seed, also we saw. So, today we'll see about development of seed. Then we'll see about a condition called apomixis and polyembryony, and then we'll see the summary of this lesson, and then we'll go with the assignment. So just recall the structure of dicot and monocot seed here. So dicot seed, you can see the structure, and just recall the corn seed is given for the monocot seed. So seeds in angiosperms, that is, seed will be the final product of fertilized ovule, and they have thick seed coats, cotyledons, embryonal axis, and the cotyledons will be simple, thick and swollen. So swollen because of the reserve food material found in it, and the mature seeds may be albuminous or non-albuminous. Albuminous means those seeds which will retain a part of endosperm, like wheat, barley. That is, those seeds can be used as used to raise crops in future. They can be used as seeds to raise crop in future. So which means here the endosperm is not completely used up. Certain amount of endosperm is present in those seeds. Next is occasionally, so that is in albuminous seeds, occasionally it will have some remnants of nucellus present. You all remember where is nucellus found? Just see this diagram here. You can see the nucellus. The nucellus you can see here, it is outside the embryo sac. So that you call it as, that is remnants, means some kind of residual remains, you can say that is remnants. So that is remnants of nucellus will be found inside the seeds, and for that you can take pepper as an example here. So that in that condition, if some remnants of nucellus is retained inside the seed, then you call that as perisperm. Okay, that is about albuminous seeds. Next is non-albuminous seeds. They do not have any residual endosperm, which means it will be completely used up by the growing embryo. So repeatedly we have been seeing this examples, groundnut and peas, best examples for this. Here no residual endosperm noticed here. Okay, and an important property of seed, that is, it will dehydrate, and getting dehydrated and attaining the state of dormancy, which is considered to be the crucial property for seed storage, and that is the property that is used as a basis of agriculture. So you can just imagine if what will happen if the seeds cannot be stored, or if the seeds do not enter the state of dormancy. So just imagine, if it is not stored, you cannot use the seeds for raising the crops year after year. So that becomes impossible. So the seeds' quality of getting dehydrated and attaining the state of dormancy is an important property which is used as a basis of agriculture. So next I have given some basic differences. You might get confused with this terms very often. So that is hypocotyle. What is hypocotyle, epicotyle, coleoptile and coleorhiza, integument and testa. Testa is the term used in the covering of a seed, whereas integument we use the term in the ovule when we talk about ovule covering, and perisperm and pericarp. So these are some basic differences you should know, which you might develop some confusion in it. So that's why I've just added this notes. You can make a note of it. So now let's see about that fruits. So as ovules mature into seeds, the ovary develops into a fruit. That is, the transformation of ovules into seeds and ovary into fruit proceeds simultaneously. Both will happen simultaneously. Okay, so based on how the fruits are going to get developed, you have some types here. So I mentioned here the types. It can be fleshy or it can be dry. Fleshy example I've given you, guava, orange and all that, and dry, groundnut and mustard I have added as an example here. Then true fruit, it can be either existing as true fruit or false fruit. And which is said to be true fruit? When fruit is developed from the ovary only then you can call it as a true fruit. So any other part, then what is false fruit? When fruit is developed from a part other than ovary, like thalamus. So you all know what is thalamus. It is actually the receptacle of a flower that is at the base of the ovary, which will be holding the flower. Okay, the cup shaped structure, that you call it as receptacle, and the technical term we use is thalamus. So if a fruit is getting developed not only from thalamus, even from the peduncle also the fruit might arise. So from any other part other than the ovary, if the fruit develops, then you call that fruit as a false fruit. So the best example you could give here are apple, cashew, strawberry. Okay, that's about false fruit. Next is, in most of the species, fruits with seeds, that is will be the products of fertilization. Okay, that is very commonly seen. And we have also learnt about parthenocarpic fruits, which are said to be seedless fruits. So which means in few species fruits develop without fertilization, that is without seeds they are developed, and those fruits are called as parthenocarpic fruits. So example I've given banana, and this production of parthenocarpic fruits can be developed or induced by some growth hormones to make it seedless. That is ovary becoming a fruit without seeds. So this is about the development of fruit and seed. The papaya fruit, supposed to be a fleshy fruit. The long section LS of the ovary of papaya is given, and you can see here pollination, germination of the pollen tube, fertilization is taking place, embryo develops, calyx and corolla falls off, and now you can see the apple, formation of apple is taking place from the thalamus part of the flower and not from the ovary. So this is the example you can give for false fruit. So that's what I told you. So you notice that the thalamus only is getting converted into the fruit. So that's why apple is said to be a false fruit. The same thing happens with the cashew and strawberry also. So next we are going to see the post-fertilization events, the summary of all the events that takes place after fertilization. So the first one is non-essential floral parts degenerate and fall off. That is calyx and corolla, that will fall off. Then what will happen to the essential parts? The ovary becomes the fruit and the ovule becomes the seed. That's what I told you the previous slide. Ovary, that is both becoming the fruit, ovary becoming the fruit and ovules becoming the seed. It is not going to be a separate process or step-by-step process, that will go on simultaneously. Next is integuments of ovules harden to become tough protective seed coats. The next one, micropyle remain as a small pore in the seed coat through which water and oxygen enters during germination. So that micropyle, a small opening that is found in the seeds, that will only be allowing water or the air to pass through during the germination process. So as seeds mature, water content reduces, becomes dry, and the metabolic activity slows down, enters the state of dormancy on favorable conditions or favorite conditions, and then they will start to germinate. All this we saw in the last class. You can refer part 5, what happens to seeds. That slide we have seen what will happen to seeds. So I've just summarized all that here. Okay. So next is the advantages of angiosperms by seeds. That is, what is the advantage of seeds being present in angiosperms? First thing is water independent nature of pollination and fertilization. So these two processes, that is pollination and fertilization, they don't require water. So making that formation of seed an important process which is more dependent on water. Okay, that is accumulation of materials, reserve food, and its germination, all that becomes completely dependent on water. So that is one main thing. Next is seeds will have better adaptive strategies. What do you mean by that? Better adaptive strategies, that is when they are dispersed in new habitats also, they can help the species to colonize in other areas. That is in the other areas, in the sense in the areas where it is not grown before. So you can just use seeds of one, maybe used in one country, you can import that and use that as a seed here in India or somewhere else also. That is the adaptive strategy it has got. Okay, new habitats they can colonize and form, that is they can propagate well. Next one is they have reserve food. So meanwhile, since till the seedlings grow into a plant, it will have some reserve food, assured reserve food. So till the plants become photosynthetic or completely independent, it will have some reserve food stored in the inside the seed. That is another advantage. Hard seed coat gives protection to the young embryo, giving protection. That is another advantage. And next finally is new genetic combinations can be generated, which in turn leads to variations. So the seeds only, because seeds they are normal, actually when they germinate, there will be that meiotic divisions taking place, and all that will lead to genetic crossing over, synapses, all that happens. So new genetic combinations can be generated and that will lead to variations. So these are the advantages, that is pollination and fertilization are water independent, so seed formation is more dependable on water, and then they have better adaptive strategies, they have reserve food, they give protection to the young embryo, and new genetic combinations being possible. So these are the advantages given by seeds to angiosperms. Next is viability of seeds. Viability is nothing but how long a seed can live. Okay, that is what you call by viability. So here it can vary from a few months to many thousands of hundreds of years also. So it is that is what you call it as viability of seeds. So some seeds can remain alive for hundreds of years also. So the oldest, that is history says that oldest of those seeds is, you can see that, see the fourth point, lupine, Luperus arcticus. So that is actually, that stays for, I have mentioned here, I am sorry, that is not 1000, it is 10,000 years. So 10,000 years of dormancy period it has got, which has been excavated from the Arctic tundra region. Okay, that is the oldest, that has the seeds has the oldest record of germinating even after 10,000 years of dormancy. So that was found, and the recently found one was date palm, and you can see the images of these lupine, 10,000 year old seeds it has got. Date palm, it has got the recently found, it has got 2000 year old dormancy period. Phoenix dactylifera, 2000 year olds. Okay, this was near, recently found near an excavation point, that is archaeological research is where it is going on. Okay, that is said to be the excavation point at King Herod's palace near Dead Sea. So they have found this recently. So you can just now have an idea how it varies, the viability, viability of the seeds. It might be from few months to several hundreds of years. So the next property we are going to see is about apomixis and polyembryony. First we'll see about apomixis. It's a very important property. It's a kind of asexual reproduction that mimics sexual reproduction. So it is not sexual reproduction, it is going to mimic or resemble a kind of sexual reproduction. So what is it actually definition for this is formation of seeds without fertilization is apomixis. Now you have to remember what is parthenocarpy. It is formation of fruits without fertilization. Okay, so that you call it as their parthenocarpy. Now it is formation of seeds without fertilization, and how it's going to take place here. So usually before actually going into this apomixis property, just remember the normal development of embryo into a seed will take place by meiotic divisions. Remember, it is meiotic divisions. So meiosis involves crossing over property, that is crossing over step, synapses, all that happen. So what will happen is segregation of characters. So the seed which is developed in one generation will not have the exact quality of it in the next generation, because there might be some segregation of characters taking place during crossing over, because meiosis is involved in normal development of embryo to seed. Okay, so here, so remember that is the property where it is going to differ from apomictic seeds. Apomictic seeds are going to produce seeds without fertilization. So this fertilization, that is male and female gamete, is not required. Just it is going to one diploid cell is going to get regenerated into a embryo. So one diploid cell, it is not from the haploid cells, it is the diploid cell which is going to divide mitotically to become an embryo. So which means there is no need of syngamy, that is double fertilization and all that, and no meiosis also takes place. So that is that's the difference between apomixis and the normal development actually. So that's we are going to see the importance of apomixis. So apomixis, you can say that the hybrid, that is this property can be induced in making hybrid seeds, or a property can be used in making hybrid seeds, so that the hybrid seeds that are developed. So just imagine if you're going to develop a hybrid seed with the desired quality, that seed generally cannot be used year after year. Every time the farmers, they have to go buy that hybrid seeds every year. They cannot store it. Okay, so every year they have to go buy the hybrid seeds, and freshly they have to sow that in the agricultural field. But here, if apomictic property is introduced into the formation, that is when the hybrid seeds are made, when this property is introduced, you can just rely on this. Farmers need not go and buy the hybrid seeds every year, because here it is only the mitotic division and no segregation of characters will happen. So the desired quality, or whatever the quality the seeds acquired during hybrid formation, so that quality will be retained throughout even after successive generations. So that's the important feature about introducing this apomixis into hybrid seeds. So that's what I've given here. So read the point. If the hybrid seeds are sown, seedlings of one progeny cannot maintain the hybrid characters in subsequent generations. This is usual. So the same property, because of this, hybrid seeds cannot maintain, because it will be undergoing that meiotic division, so it will show that segregation of characters. So in that case, we don't need that property, we don't need that syngamy or meiotic division to take place. So apomictic property can be introduced. So that's why it is helping in producing hybrid seeds. Then cost effective and time efficient. And production, that is the farmers need not go every year buy the seeds for raising the fresh crops. Then production of hybrid varieties with increased yield, that is sustainability can be noticed. Every year the same quality without any change can be produced year after year, and it helps to preserve that good characters. That's what the quality that we made during that hybrid, in the first stage of hybrid seed, that will be there throughout for several generations. because there is no segregation of characters and the farmers can use the seeds again and again to raise new crops. This is a bit of complicated topic. You just recall this or listen to it carefully and you will understand. So normally seed, that is embryo becoming a seed, involves meiotic division where there will be segregation of characters. Apomictic seeds will not show meiosis, will show only mitosis, and so no segregation of characters takes place. This property we are going to incorporate in seeds to make it a hybrid seed, so that one particular deserved or desired quality can be maintained in that. Okay. Coming back to the next property, polyembryony. See the fourth point, occurrence of more than one embryo is called polyembryony. That is, in some varieties, nucellar cells. You recall now, where are the nucellar cells found? Outside the embryo sac. The nucellar cells outside the embryo sac start dividing, protrude, that is, enter into the embryo sac to form multiple embryos. So more than one embryo when it is forming inside the embryo sac, then you call that condition as polyembryony. So therefore, ovule of such species have many embryos, example citrus, and even some species of mangoes, you can say. So these are pictures I have added here. Some species are monoembryonic. It is not always mangoes are polyembryonic. So some are monoembryonic and some species are found to be polyembryonic. So you can see that the right side, this picture, mango seed types 1 and 2, two embryos. You can see the first image has only one embryo, and on the right hand side you can see two embryos are found. So the same mango can be monoembryonic or polyembryonic. So how these two embryos or more than one embryo is formed? The nucellus found outside the embryo sac will divide and will enter into the embryo sac and becomes, develops into more than one or more embryos. So that condition you call it as polyembryony. So this is one comparison I have taken to understand the concept of apomixis and polyembryony. So just make a note of it. Whatever we have seen only I have summarized and given here. And now this is the summary of this entire lesson, whatever we have been learning from the beginning of this chapter. So there is angiosperms, the events, pre-fertilization events, fertilization and post-fertilization events. Pre-fertilization events, where we saw about androecium, the structure of anther, the structure of gynoecium, and the pollination event, the types of pollinations we saw, the agents of pollination, outbreeding devices, pollen pistil, PP is nothing but pollen pistil interaction, and artificial hybridization. All that we saw under pre-fertilization events. And then in fertilization we saw about double fertilization, where we saw about syngamy and triple fusion. And then post fertilization events, we saw about the development of endosperm, embryo seed, and all the apomixis and polyembryonic conditions. And this is the summary of all. Okay. Now we'll see the assignment questions. So why is apple called a false fruit? Which part of the flower forms the fruit? So just recall what are true fruits and false fruits and what happens to apple here. And next one is, what is apomixis? Give its importance. So what is apomixis? It is actually production of seeds without fertilization. So you should really be careful while learning the definitions or the concepts of apomixis, parthenocarpy and polyembryony. Please don't get confused. Production of seeds from without fertilization, you call it as apomixis. Production of fruit without fertilization, you call it as parthenocarpy. And production of more than one embryos because of nucellus entering into the embryo sac, that property you call it as polyembryony. So just understand the difference, compare and learn these three concepts. And why apomixis is important? Because the property of diploid cell getting developed into an embryo without fertilization involves only mitotic division, which means no segregation of characters. That is, it will not develop into new, it will not develop into or produce any new qualities in successive generations. Okay, so this property can be introduced into hybrid seeds so that every year the farmers very easily cultivate using the same seeds. Then write an account of different types of fruits. We saw that summary of it, and summarize the post fertilization changes in an angiosperm, that is calyx and corolla, what will happen to the essential, non-essential whorls, and what is the property, all that you have to summarize and tell. Okay children, we are finishing this chapter 2. So next is just do a complete recap of the entire lesson, and if you have any doubts, you can send it through Anil sir. So he will be able to pass on the information to me. Thank you all children.